Astronaut, I move solo cause it feels safer. Astronaut, I move solo cause it feels safer. Fake friends and fake people, some of them is hate. Fake friends and fake people, some of them is haters.
Hey, welcome to Spaceland, you heard?
Alright. Yo, what's going on? I'm not sure how the volume is, but I'm gonna find out after I'm done with this. So it's your boy Astronaut. You're somewhere in Spaceland, and this is the first of many podcast episodes. So with a lot of the stuff that I have going on in my business as it's continuously growing, I do, as far as YouTube content, want to kind of time after time just sit down, not really be doing anything else, and kind of like give people insight to how I got here, a lot of the trials and tribulations that I went through, a lot of the mental hula hoops that I had to jump through to even just be who I am today. So even at this point right now with my fucked up ceiling and my extensive Hot Wheel car collection, I feel good. I'm happy to be here and I'm grateful. I'm not where I really want to be, but truth be told, when it comes down to this car stuff, I don't think I'll ever be where I want to be. But I know that I can enjoy the ride, you know what I'm saying? So I made a list. Let's see, I made a list. Okay, so this will revolve around essentially what is Spaceland. So Spaceland, this is my third year in business. I got my LLC in 2022. So I obviously passed through 2 years. It's my third year. And the premise of the business is automotive restoration. It's essentially taking older cars that have kind of been forgotten about, barn finds, you name it, restore them, put them in new homes, and give them a new life with new owners who've been looking for these cars, and make money and just be around automobiles that have legendary stories, that have made names in the automotive world dating back to the 20s. You know what I'm saying? As long as cars have been around, been a lot of history and a lot of stuff that I do want to indulge in. You know what I mean? So with that being said, prior to 2022 and me opening and creating the LLC, making it official, it essentially was 10 years in the making. So I graduated high school in 2009, and then I kind of, like, when I was in high school, my main focus was graduating on time. I kind of started getting this reality that I'm about to be into the real world, and I kind of just wanted to do everything at the best level possible, and I figured start here, you know what I mean? So um I wound up essentially graduating on time, which was great, and now I was out here in the real world. I really didn't know what I wanted to do, but I just did know one thing, and that one thing was that I love cars. You know what I'm saying? And I just loved cars. I didn't know how to work on them. At this time, I wasn't driving yet. I had just got my car, probably like a year into the future of my graduation. So my idea of loving cars was essentially Hot Wheels cars, model cars, seeing them in the dealership, seeing them drive past, TV, movies, that stuff. Like, I've never physically touched a car, but I know I did. I just didn't know how I could make it into a career. So essentially, I went into the real world pretty lost. You know what I'm saying? Pretty lost. I, wasn't sure where I was gonna go. And at that time, my mindset was essentially, well, let me at least get into a school. You know what I mean? So I'm not like, 'cause I don't know. I felt like from what I was seeing in the world, if I didn't go to school right away, I might have just never went. And at that time, I wasn't sure if that would be a smart move or not. Like, I really didn't have a lot of knowledge on the real world. So I just went to school. Immediately went to a community college. And this is like 2010. And in that same year, I left that community college, and it was for criminal justice too. And the reason I left was because all I thought about was driving the cars. because everyone knows cop cars are fast, and I'm a Ford guy, so I always liked the Crown Victorias. I thought the P71 was a crazy car, and I essentially just, when it came down to like actually having to fight crime and deal with people and potentially get killed, you know what I'm saying, or having to kill somebody or any of that stuff, I was like, I really didn't want to be involved with it. So I started looking up car stuff, and then this school, Universal Technical Institute, came about, and it was basically a school where you go to become an automotive mechanic or a technician, and I went to that school and it was great. I mean, essentially I got my first hands-on experience working on cars. It was tough because, before this point I never even touched cars. So I was taking a lot in, all while trying to really get comfortable with it and understand the dynamics and stuff. And the experience is wild. I did not graduate on time, but I did graduate. It wasn't like the whole idea you're supposed to be there about 2 years. Maybe I took like 2.5, maybe. You know what I'm saying? A little bit under 2.5, maybe, because each class was separated by 3 weeks. So you do the math, 3 weeks of class, and then that's essentially put me at about maybe 2 years and maybe 2 months or something. I'm not sure, but whatever. I didn't graduate on time, but I graduated. So at this point, I'm not in the field just yet, but the whole idea of the school was, hey, go to school, make a crazy income, and live your life. And I was like, done. So you know what I'm saying? I can just work on cars. I wasn't even really thinking about being rich or anything like that either. I was just like, yo, I just want a career that I can make good money, get my own crib, do my own thing. And at this point, I'm gonna go into the field, and my real hands-on experience in the real world with with automobiles and cars and stuff, took off, right? Like now it's basically like it's up to me to make something of myself. And I still was kind of confused because I wasn't sure, like, if fixing cars was even a thing I wanted to do. It was really more so making the good money and just being around cars. So at Ford is my first job. I wound up getting, no, I lied. Toyota was my first job. And it was so depressing. Like, it was actually a really sad wake up call for the reality I was probably going to be living. It was so bad I wound up not even going back, honestly, because it was like I was in there, and a quick side note: so mechanics usually got paid by flat rate, which essentially was a transmission job would be 12 hours, and you get paid this amount of money to do it. If you do the transmission job in 6 hours, you still get paid the 12 hours. You know what I'm saying? So you can do more jobs. So essentially, that's where the money was at. I unfortunately started at the wrong time. Um, and flat rate they were pretty much doing away with flat rate. And I started noticing a lot of dealerships getting union jobs where, essentially they, they made it they made it harder for newer people to get actual decent money. All the good jobs and stuff would have obviously went to the guys that were there longer, had more experience, kind of been around the shop world. So, I was the bottom of the totem pole. And at that moment I realized, like, school didn't mean nothing. I mean, it was a good experience, but it really didn't help me. So, I left Toyota, and then I wound up going to Ford. Um, and I was there actually the longest. I wound up becoming a service advisor, which was the other side of the shop, which is essentially you deal with the customer directly. You're the one that tells them how much stuff costs, and that in itself was another depressing experience because you know then I was able to see like how people felt about fixing their cars. Again, me, I really at this point I haven't had any major car issues. The biggest job that I have done, aside from going to school, was like oil changes. I never had a personal car issue that like put me out. You know what I'm saying? So I used to see people coming into the shop, seeing how much they had to pay for certain jobs, and it was just depressing. I've seen on numerous occasions people just leave the car there, and remembering how Toyota was, I started realizing the experience just wasn't what it was, like what I thought it would be. And I take some blame for that because like I said, when I was going to the schools and stuff, I really didn't do the research. Like I still had like a very immature mindset where I kind of just took what was told to me for face value essentially. So if you told me I was going to make this money, then I was going to make this money, you know what I'm saying? I really didn't do research, like I just kind of went in blindfolded. So, you know, I take accountability for that, but it changed my whole view on the automotive field. And I wound up leaving Ford after like 2 years. I got a job in Mercedes. I was lucky enough to get a job in Mercedes because I had a connect with someone who was a customer there who like spent a lot of money. He buys like S classes and shit. And he was like, I like your personality. If these guys ain't treating you good, you know, I can take you over here. And he was a customer at Ford. He used to drive a Lincoln Navigator, so he had money. And I was like, yo, let's see what's up. And they let me in. And this was the first union job that I worked. So essentially, I never made it past 40. I would, and if you only got, hold on, let me fix this shit. I don't get my mic stand broke, crazy. But if you essentially didn't get past 40 hours, like the flat rate I just mentioned, you only got paid 40 hours. Now, to some people, that's legit because you go in, you work your 40 hours physically, like the 8 hours of the 5 days a week or whatever, and you get your pay. But the thing was like that's the cap. I mean, that's the cap right there. Well, I'm supposed to do this for the next 10 years. You know what I'm saying? Making just enough just to get 40 hours. Like I thought it was ridiculous. And I actually wound up putting in my 2 weeks at that place, and I told myself that I was done with the automotive field. And it was very, very depressing because I felt like at this point I spent about with the school is too I spent about 5 6 years in the automotive field, and I got nothing out of it but a student loan, you know what I mean? And it put me into a low key depression, you know what I'm saying? And I kind of already like, so when growing up, right? Like growing up, quick background about me, I was essentially the kid that like um I like my father didn't have a dominant role in the household, and I'm just gonna be direct about it, you know what I mean? So my mom essentially ran the household. How it got like that, I don't know. It could never be me, and I love my dad, rest in peace. But that's essentially what it was. So, you know, people like she did a lot for us. She got us a lot of stuff like video games and shit. Like she helped us out, and she's helped me out still. But essentially, I had this looking back on it, right? I mean, obviously, I was just a kid growing up, teenager, whatever. But I didn't have too much of a masculine frame. You get what I'm saying? Like when I was younger, like like kids used to make fun of me, and I dead ass just cry and shit, like on some bitch shit. You know what I'm saying? I didn't have like that young masculine energy to me. You know what I mean? Like I was soft. You feel me? It is what it is. Like so going through like middle school and high school, like I dealt with that. You know what I'm saying? Or if you've heard the term cornball and shit like that, like people used to say that shit to me, and like it necessarily didn't affect me because I really didn't care to be like some kind of popular kid or anything. But I remember that shit. You know what I'm saying? And I always kind of went through life like not really feeling like I was the man. You feel what I'm saying? Like, and it sucked. So, with that on my shoulder, I'm like, shit, I can get out of high school, do good, and kind of like, prove that side of myself wrong. Like, I am a man. I can be, I am masculine. Like, I am these things. And I fell flat on my face. So then I just kind of like had the vibes from, when I was younger. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, damn, like I really felt like a loser, bro, to be honest with you. Cause I was like, I don't know what else to do. Like I left the field. I'm not sure how I can make anything happen with the car world if I'm not in the automotive field. So the depression just kept going. I left the field. I wound up getting retail jobs, like, just making paychecks to kind of let life pass by. And I kind of just drowned in my own sorrows, you know what I'm saying? And things never really changed. You feel me? So we're talking like at this point, so I left the automotive field in about 2015, and I started school in 2010. So, you know, like I started the retail, and I was just drowning in my own sorrows. Like shit was just terrible. So at this point, like, I don't what the fuck, like I didn't know what the fuck was going on. So okay, so I wound up, I feel like I was like losing myself for a second, but no, so yeah, I was in the field. I left. I went to retail, kind of just letting life pass by. I didn't know what was going on, and I still owed this school loan. Like, you know what I mean? So, I just said to myself, ain't nothing I can really do. So, time went on, and a year into working, not a year, like I want to say like a year and a half. Um, And another side note, if I ever bring up anything regarding somebody else, I will never bring up names. You know what I'm saying? Like a lot of my life that's behind me is behind me. So if I do bring up anything, it's only with the intent to give insight onto who I am. You get what I'm saying? So with that being said, I wound up dating this girl that I worked with, and I've been in relationships. Like relationships at that time really wasn't like a big factor in my life. Like I wouldn't say that it's something that affected me crazy. But when I got into this relationship, real bad joint, like, cool, like she had money, you know what I'm saying? Like her parents essentially spoiled her. They taught her, guess, how to manage her money. Like, she was good. She was essentially good. And I wasn't. And, as time went on, like I felt insecure about it because I didn't have money to go out. I didn't have money to really cover my bills. Like I didn't have nothing saved. I had nothing going on. And you know what I'm saying? And she essentially was the opposite. You know what I'm saying? She was doing law and all of this stuff. She wanted to be a lawyer. Her life was pretty much okay. And as time went on, that reality started to show itself. You know what I mean? And well, even before that, actually I lied. Even before that, I was in another relationship. But the difference with those was the first one was essentially like I just knew this girl didn't like me. So, we were just normally arguing and all of that shit, and that ended. But this particular relationship I'm talking about, um, and obviously I'm not saying like I'm a saint, but my insecurities about not having money, not being able to do the things I want, and all of that shit really took even a bigger toll on me because like everything was good in the beginning, but I saw the end coming when my stress really started hitting. I was insecure as fuck. You know what I'm saying? And essentially towards the end, this girl wound up sleeping with a dude I thought I was friends with. Absolutely fucking crushed me, and I wasn't, you know, the perfect dude. Like I definitely was insecure about my finances and shit. So there was a lot of times that, I did like I guess lash out. Like I don't hit women or nothing like that. Like I wasn't like, but I could imagine, I remember being like, if we were arguing, like I went a little harder than normal, but it was about me not having money. And you know what I'm saying? So it hit me a lot harder than like, arguing with just, in some regular relationship. Like I feel like if I was good, like a lot of that shit wouldn't have even happened. Well, if I was good, I wouldn't have been working retail. But, you know, that happened, and then like as towards the end of our relationship, like she was like laughing at me, bro. Like laughing at me, son. And I was like, there ain't no way. Like I never thought that I would be in that position. And I was only like 21, 22. Like, you feel me? Like, no, I'm lying. At this point, I was like, nah, at this point, yeah, I was about like 23, because I graduated high school at 17. So I went in to the automotive school like 19ish. So yeah, I was about 23. And man, that shit sucked. And then that's when like like I felt like I was in a depression before, but yo, like I was broken up about that shit for like at least a good year and some change. Like I just was not it wasn't necessarily her, but more so the fact that I just didn't feel like a man, you know what I'm saying? And like that shit took a toll on me. Um so my essential depression continued, you know what I'm saying? I was you know, making weird decisions about my life. I was you know, I just was all over the place. But the only thing that I always knew was that I was like, yo, I want to work on cars. You feel me? Like I want to do something with cars. I just didn't know how. So I said, you know what, bet. I'm gonna work retail. I'm gonna, you know, do whatever I gotta do. And I'm gonna let time figure itself out. After I had broke up with, after the shorty basically left me, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna just figure this shit out. I'm not gonna try to worry too much about it. But I told myself that I would just never forget it. God damn, my fucking. But I just told myself I would never forget it. You know, keep it in the back of my head. So at the time, I had a 2010 Ford Focus. So you know, this was basically a car that I could chill and kind of work on and kind of just do my thing, just fuck around, keep the spirit alive. You know, it was an automatic, like it wasn't the greatest car, but it was a car, and you know, I was grateful to have it. I loved that car, and I used to just work on that car while doing the retail. You know what I'm saying? If I had extra money, I'd just buy some parts. Still didn't really have a direction with the build, honestly, because it was automatic, but you know, I did little things like lower it, put some wheels on it, stuff like that, painted it a little bit, interior parts, intake, like basic stuff, you know. Um, and then you know, that kind of kept me going. And then things started to change. Things started to definitely change. I wound up you know, now, all right, I'm mixing up the timelines. I got the car in 2009. So I had the car in automotive school. So I should have mentioned that earlier, but I just want to make that, you know, clear. Like, so I was able to work on the car long after I left school, you know. Unfortunately, when it was snowing, a snow truck, like it was big, like out here in Long Island, they got like the dump trucks with the snow plows on the front, like huge trucks. So essentially, from what I think, someone drove into it and pushed it into my front yard and kind of kept it moving. There, was like, ah, fuck that, not my job. And that's essentially, I lost that car. And then um I wound up getting into a Focus ST, which I still have till this day. And that was when things started really kind of turning around for me as far as me being a car guy. Because, you know, well, this is when I first started falling in love with turbos and forced induction and like really, because this car is fast. You know what I'm saying? It ain't a Ferrari or nothing, but should get up. So it put a whole new energy into me, you know, and I was still going through my depression. I was still hurt, but like, you know, that car kept me going, yo, and it increased my love for Ford. It expanded my knowledge, and then like, you know, I started really doing stuff to the car. Really started like building the car because the car was already had a turbo, so I started just learning, doing more research, stuff that I kind of already known, but like even in automotive school, I don't know, it just hit different when I was in the driveway as opposed to in like the school shops. It just hit different. I don't know. And maybe it was because I was on my own time, but yeah, you know, the love for my car started building up. So all right, so Shorty's long gone. Shorty is long gone. I ain't been in nothing. Shorty was long gone. So it was just me, my car. I was kind of just out trying to figure out my life, trying to work through this depression and shit. And like, so where we at right now? So basically, I was working retail for like the next, after that point, maybe the next 4 years. I was working on retail, and then what happened was, uh, like I couldn't take the feeling of the depression. You get what I'm saying? Like I couldn't stand it because it was like, yo, in the back of my mind, I started understanding that I was more than this. You feel what I'm saying? Way better than this. Like I shouldn't even be destroying myself like this. Like I need to do better. So you know, my crowd always changed. I always had like different friends up in, you know, for a while. Like I had a couple like friends that I known over the years, but You know, I don't think I had real friends. Like, well, I had definitely like shout outs to Pat, shout outs to Rebecca, you know, and you know, I had some really good friends to my heart, but like those two, and then a lot of other people kind of came in my life and left. You know what I'm saying? But then I got up with my my bro till this day, my boy Jamal. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if he's in any of the episodes, but he definitely will be. But essentially, you know, I got cool with him. He understood my, I don't know if he necessarily understood my depression, but he didn't judge me off of it. Like he didn't stop fucking with me because of it. Like I felt like there were people who did stop fucking with me because of it, because of just I was always going through some shit, which looking back on it, I understand, because it's like, you know, if you got your own shit going on, you really don't need somebody in your ear talking about they shit, you know. So, but he stayed around. He always kicked it with me, always hit me up. We stayed thorough with each other, you know. And I knew him from high school, so you know, I had the ST. Things was cool, like, and you know, years went on, and then you know, one thing I knew about him was that he lived in Virginia. So for a while, like he graduated high school in Virginia. He lived out here, moved down there because he had peoples and family down there. So I forgot how the conversation went, but essentially he was longing to go back. He didn't want to live under his mom's roof. He didn't, you know, he wanted to advance in life. Kind of like me and him were on the same page. We were like, yo, we need to do better. Like we need to elevate, we need to upgrade. And we kind of always talked about that. You know what I'm saying? And we both, you know, we were grateful for our situations, but we wanted our own stuff. So he knew people in Virginia. Long story short, he created the opportunity for me to move down there, you know, and start a new life. And it worked. It worked. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like I wasn't no new, I wasn't a whole new person, but I felt better. I felt like things improved, you know what I mean? And so I wound up moving down there, which I moved, me and Jamal was supposed to go down together, but I wound up going down first, and then he came through like a month later. Um I wound up renting a room with one of his peoples. One of his peoples had like a crib, his mom had like a crib and shit. And you know, Jamal basically got me to connect to get a room to pay like monthly, or it was month it was monthly. It was monthly, and you know, they gave me time to find a job and you know stuff like that. I wound up finding a job within like so when I first went down there, I applied for Domino's, which was a cool job, but I don't know. Me personally, like pizza delivery, I felt like I was a little too old for it, but it brought in money. It brought in a check and tips. So I mean, it is two incomes, despite how I may feel. So it worked. Then I wound up getting a job at a distribution center, and you know I started making real money. Um, and you know things were still getting good. I had a lot of catching up to do. You know, I still really didn't have much bread, but I was able to pay, you know, my rent or my time, you know, pay my room joint or whatever, and everything I guess was cool. You know, things didn't work out in the house that I was at. Essentially, like while I was grateful for the opportunity, I felt like his corner of people's didn't care for me. You know what I'm saying? I'm not sure what it was. I'm not sure if it was my personality or anything. Maybe I was just an annoying motherfucker. I don't know. I never really I never really elaborated on it. You know, I never kind of like tried to figure out why. I used to just tell Jamal like I don't think, you know, these people fuck with me. You know, and you know, little other shit. But long story short, I wound up moving out and moving like, so I mean, that could be direct. I was in a 757. So when I first moved to Virginia, I was in Suffolk. I wound up moving to Portsmouth. And I wound up getting my own apartment. And I wound up living in Portsmouth for a bigger portion of my time in Virginia. I wound up getting two different spots. Portsmouth was like my final like resting place, essentially, as far as apartments go. And you know, things was cool. I was just paying rent, working, doing my thing, working on the cars. Now this is where I started creating the idea of kind of like starting my own thing and doing my own thing, because I've seen a lot of people were doing it. I've seen a lot of people on YouTube who were basically my age, kind of just living free, kind of not really living under the rules of a job. And I was like, yo, if I could do something with cars on my own, create a name for myself, then I should be good. And now, mind you, at this point, I still didn't even think to really start a restoration business. I just still was like the puzzle pieces were starting to fall into place. So, you know, time just kept going on. So all right, I think like I don't want to really like I'm gonna try to throw in as many details over time outside of this episode, but like I'm just giving kind of like a little bit of a quicker story. So at this point, it's now like 2018. It's like end of 2017, beginning of 2018, and then COVID hit. So COVID hit, and essentially was staying home. I still had to work because I was at a distribution center. So I mean, I wasn't too worried about COVID. I mean, obviously, I was taking safety measures, but it is what it is. I couldn't not get paid. You feel me? Because if I stayed home, I wouldn't make no money. So essentially, I had to keep going. COVID kind of changed a lot. I was in my thoughts a lot more because I was home a lot more. Um, so while I still was dealing with the depression out there, I had time to think. And like I said, I really was out there alone because the people that I essentially was supposed to really be around when I moved out there, immediately I felt like they kind of turned on me. Not like on some aggressive shit, but like, I don't know. I don't know what it was. Something was off. Like I felt like they just didn't fuck with me. You know what I'm saying? And I don't know what it was, but I felt it in my heart. So, again, back all the way back. We're talking early days when I was a kid. They used to get made fun of and go home crying and shit like that. Like, again, it was just this thing of like going through life and people were just kind of like sunning me. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, nigga, you ain't that nigga. Like, you a little nigga type shit. Like that type of shit. I had to go through that my whole life. So the thing, and it wasn't Jamal. Like I said, it was his peoples. I felt like, and he was. The thing is, he was gonna be with them over me. You know what I'm saying? Like, those is his peoples. Like me and him. To me, he's my best friend. But at the same time, I do understand he was hanging out with these guys way longer than he's been hanging out with me. Like so I wasn't surprised that he was gonna be in their corner more. And they fucked with him. They supported him and all types of shit. So I was just happy for him. But again, I was back in this position of being the young boy type shit, So at least that's how I felt. So, COVID hit and I was just by myself, just drowning in my thoughts. I was eager to try to make something of myself. The distribution job was hard, but it was hard work. But, I didn't want to do this forever. Like I already knew. The only difference was that I wasn't gonna quit. You feel me? Like I was just gonna do this until further notice type joint. So that's essentially what happened. COVID died down, and this is when things took the wild turn. Essentially, my dad passed away. Unfortunately, he passed away in 2019. I was down in Virginia, and he was up here, and I never thought that when I visited to see him that I would never see him again after that. So I was like taken aback, man. I was like, damn, bro. Like he was really gone. Like this to me was like at this point I already had lost Patrick, Patrick, I don't know if I mentioned him, but he's on my neck. He's on my neck. So, I lost him, and that to me was a big hit for me because he was a good friend of mine. So to lose my dad, I was like, damn, bro. And then not to mention that there were people that I knew, family and non-family, that were dying because of COVID. So it was just a lot of death in the air, a lot of negative energy in the air. There was people I was working with at the distribution center who were losing their family members. And it was just such a sad time in the world, man. And it just everything was just like the weight of the world was just always on my shoulders. So my lease ended, and then I wound up going to Newport News because I was gonna go back to New York at this point, but Jamal let me stay at his crib for a while. So I was able to keep working a little bit more, and essentially before I knew it, I was back up here. You know, my mom was talking to me. She was like, you know, come up, you should come up here and, you know, kind of help me out now that, dad's gone or whatever. So I was like, I guess it wouldn't hurt. Didn't want to come back at all. Even then, I didn't want to come back. But there were opportunities up here. So, I was working on that. I had money saved up. So what I did essentially was before I came up, I had essentially laid out a plan for the business. Didn't necessarily have a name yet, but I knew the direction I was going because, my whole life I essentially felt like I was just a guy that was different from everybody else in the world, like an alien on Earth, an astronaut on Mars. You know what I'm saying? So I always felt secluded. I always felt isolated in my own world. I didn't think I was better than anybody, but I just knew that I was different, for better or for worse. So, I said to myself, I'm going to make a brand. I'm going to create a dream out of the ground, son. And I won't be able to, I won't have to rely on nobody. I won't have to worry about who likes me or who doesn't like me. I wouldn't have to, you know, bunk up with people or look for assistance from people if need be. I was going to create something that was 100% me because, a lot of my struggles, a lot of my depression, it was just me. You know what I'm saying? Obviously, like I had a little bit of help there. I had friends and some friends like Jamal in my corner, but it was just me. So I said, yo, I'm going to plan this joint out. And that's when Spaceland started coming into fruition. I just didn't have a name. I already had a logo because this logo I had when I skipped this part. In my depression times when I was still out before I moved, I took a shot at music. The obvious thing in the black community is you either go to be an athlete or you do music because the impression is that it's quick money. You can live a life that a lot of people can't. So I did take a crack at it. I didn't I took it seriously, but I knew it was the first run. I was mixing and mastering my own music. I was doing everything myself. So I'm like, there's no way this could sound professional. I liked it, but I didn't really care to be a rapper. So, I did it for fun, but I had the logo. So I just took that logo from my very short rap career and applied it to the business. So I had a logo. So, and in my rap name was Astronaut. Sometimes I said 91 Astronaut, but it was essentially Astronaut. That was the name that I was going to go with. So I said, all right, all right. So you know what? So, when I'll just do my business on YouTube as Astronaut. You know what I'm saying? In the real world, I'll be Gilbert, whatever. But that's going to be my DBA. You feel me? So I had all of that set. So there was only one thing that I needed, and that was money. So I started creating different ways to save money, like rounding up spare change, dividing my paycheck, putting something to the side. I had the COVID money, you know what I'm saying? So I had money to start. You know what I'm saying? And little dumb shit would happen where, I would have to use some of that money I had my clutch go out in Virginia because of a rear main seal twice. You know what I'm saying? So little stuff like that, I had to obviously fork over some bread, but you know, I had a motive and I had a mission. And essentially, I wound up right before I left. I started a business, yo. I got the LLC. I did my research. And, as far as the LLC went, I was like, once I pay for this, I'm in this. You feel me? Like, whatever money I make, it's got to go to the business and it's got to be built for something greater. So, I got the LLC and it's based in Virginia. And the name I went with was Spaceland, obviously because of the rap name Astronaut. So it's spelt different. It's SPC3LND. So the reason I spelt it that way is because it just fits in a license plate, 7 letters. So obviously Spaceland spelled completely differently, but I said let me take the E, turn it into a 3, and remove both A's. So I was set. I had the business. So now I felt great. Like it completely changed me. You know what I'm saying? Dealing with my dad. My dad is a big part of the business. So he you know, and you know what? I'll get into that next podcast episode. I'll dedicate a podcast episode to my dad. I'm not sure when or where, whatever, but I'll do that. Well, I want to stick to the business, but I just want you to know he's a big part of my motivation of actually doing the business. So we're here. So I'm like, all right, now. So from that point up until today, um, I bought cars. My dad had a Ford Econoline 150 that I wound up putting in my name. My mom really didn't want the van, and you know what I'm saying. And nobody was going to fix it, and nobody was going to even put even remotely as close to as much love as I was going to. So you know, I took over it. And so essentially I started getting builds. I got a motorhome that I'm working on. So I started getting like assets, I guess, you know, and I started making money. I then I wound up coming out here. Um, well, I was already out here when I got like my second and third, like the van. I was already out here. I bought my second car. The RV I bought in Virginia, well, North Carolina, but it's still down in Virginia. But I had that coming up here already. But you know, whatever. I started building assets, getting you know, things like that. And you know, I've been growing since. I'm at the point now where I do want to start buying cars. One of the main reasons I am up here is because you know, a family member, a family member, essentially was selling Avon, and you know, she was tired of it. She essentially said, like, it's not making no money. I want to retire, you know, live my life. And so essentially coming up here, while I could take care of the house, I could make money doing that. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, I wound up selling it, but not as a representative, but like on eBay with like e-commerce and stuff. And it started bringing in an insane amount of money. So I was like, shoot, we gotta get this up out of here. So I've been selling that. As you can see in Thrift and Spaceland, which is basically like what's it called? So Spaceland's the overhead company, you know what I'm saying? So this is like a branch down. So Thrift and Spaceland is essentially what I'm going to make a like a drop shipping e-commerce situation. But that's been bringing in money, and then I wound up getting a job as a bartender, you know, so that's two incomes, and then Instacart. And you remember I was doing Instacart. If you don't remember, I was doing Instacart in Virginia. That's where I started my Instacart career. I've been doing that for like 3 years. I stopped very recently because it really tanked for some weird reason. But I plan on going back on it because I'm bringing my cars back out for spring. So, you know, I should probably be doing that within like the week. But it brought in good money. So essentially, I found myself in a place where I'm making more money. Well, I should say I'm making money where I can actually do stuff. I was always making money, but I've always had so much bills, so much stuff going on, which actually is funny because I actually took the insurance and gave my plates into the DMV the last 3 or 4 months because I wanted to use that extra money to invest back into the business, which worked out very, very well. And you know, we just gonna keep going. So essentially that's Spaceland. And oh, let me see. I started talking. I got a list. All right. So what's in Spaceland or Spaceland, Virginia? All right, e-commerce stuff. So yeah, so essentially right now that's my pretty much my main income is the online selling. And you know, obviously, multiple incomes is typically the way when you want to make money, you know, in general, because when you have different flows, you kind of can manage better. I mean, that's like I've heard that a million times over. Um, okay, and so New York now. That's pretty much the last topic because I got to go to work. I should have started this earlier, so I do apologize if I've seemed like I'm rushing, but believe me, it's gonna be way more episodes. I'm not trying to be a podcaster like you know like the JBP or like you know any you know Rory and Maul or anything like that. I just want this space to just do anything but talk. You know, just talk. So with that being said, New York has been great to me so far. I absolutely do want to go back to Virginia, but you know, it's so many opportunities up here. So I'm just kind of here to utilize those opportunities for as good as they last. And things have improved, man. Owning a business has been probably it's been the best decision I ever made in my life. I feel a lot better. More money's come in. I've started meeting so many good people, man. Let me tell you, and it's crazy because like I don't have friends that I chill with every day. Like Jamal was the last friend that I had like that. You know what I'm saying? Where it was like every day you wake up, yo, Jamal, what's good? What's good? What's going on? What's going on? Like he was the last friend that I had like that. So like it's weird now because like now I have friends just as good as Jamal, but I don't hang out with motherfuckers every day. Like I don't be, you know what I'm saying? I don't get too attached to people. Like I don't get too attached to niggas and shit like that. I don't do the whole best friend shit. Like, like you feel me? I don't got best friends. I just got good friends. People that I can rely on, people that I can trust, people I don't gotta worry about type shit. So, when I came back out here, I started going out a lot. Now I was doing that in Virginia, but I was alone. You feel me? I didn't mind going out alone. I didn't think that was weird because, as you've heard from my story, most of my life I went through alone. So, it was nothing to do that. So I came back out here, and I wound up going to the spots I used to go to before I left. So I came back, and like I just started getting up with people. And I was happy to talk about my business, how I have a growing situation, and like people just started showing me mad love, like that, that little nigga feeling that I've had for almost all of my young life seemingly started going away. You know what I'm saying? Like I still wound up meeting the wrong people and shit, but I knew how to go against the grain. You feel me? I knew how to dodge those situations. I knew how to avoid that. And what happened was I started feeling like I started getting a masculine frame in a weird way, man. I'm not going to sit here and tell you at 26, 27, I felt feminine, but that whole depression feel where I was feeling sad for myself, making excuses, crying and complaining, like, that started becoming a thing of the past. And I think that was what was very important for my life. And it made me happier as a person. Like, I don't get mad for real. Like, like sometimes I could sound like I'm getting mad because I can talk loud or I can talk with passion, but I don't let a lot of things hold me down. If something does upset me, it will be for a short period of time. I was dealing with some shorties like when I first moved out here who were, one shorty was super fucking tiring, but like, where I would have think that particular situation would have destroyed me 6, 7 years prior. It is what it is. I've seen so much of failure that it's like, you know, what worse could happen? You know what I'm saying? And I've never had like a hard life where I was like struggling to eat and shit like that, but mentally shit was tiring. So I started seeing kind of like the sun come out, and things just started getting better. I go out all the time. I hang out with people all the time. Like I try to socialize. Because you never know how long this is gonna last. Tomorrow's never promised. And, at some point, like I said, I do want to go back to Virginia. At some point, I am going to be tied up with cars. So I won't be able to have as much time to socialize and stuff like that. So I enjoy it for the moment. Sometimes I go out every day. I'm a baseball fan, so I go out, I watch sports. I watch sports all year round. I bet. Like I do activities. So, sometimes I'm sure people will probably look at me like an alcoholic. I don't give a fuck. You know what I'm saying? I go out, I enjoy my life. And it's essentially helped me improve my business because I started meeting connects. I started meeting people. Like, you know, things started changing and they're picking up. So that's New York now. I pretty much do my thing. I chill. Pretty much the goals right now is to build the current cars I have, which you will see. Get my motorhome up here, have it fully restored. I want to in the future do traveling, get cars far and wide, get a trailer, that good stuff. So, that's Spaceland right now, man. That's Spaceland. It's been great so far. I'm on my third year. Taxes are a bitch, but it is what it is. And we here, bro. So I'm excited for what the future holds. Uh, yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, I know for sure I'm going. We're gonna be talking more and stuff. But yeah, so all right, so boom. So quick things before I close this out. Sponsors. I got one sponsor, honestly, but it's Jones Beach Brewing Company. One of my boys, one of my good friends that I work with, he helps take part in growing this company. It's a beer company based in Long Island. Extremely good beer, like it's strong IPA. They got different stuff, but they got really good beers. If you're familiar with the Long Island area, you got brands like Montauk and Blue Point. Um, these guys are up there. They, he agreed to allow, it's essentially, the sponsorship. Like he said, I can, help and promote it. We help each other. So I'm gonna figure out how I can present it. Because I'm still not sure because the beer business is a lot different. So I'm still trying to learn steps on how I could promote it on my own instead of having to always call him about the shit. So that is the sponsor. I look forward to having more sponsors, but these are the guys you're gonna see. Probably next podcast. I know I got logos and stuff, but that's my guy. I stand by the beer. I stand by the company. And they're gonna grow, and I'm gonna grow with them. You know what I'm saying? I look forward to seeing what the future holds for them. You know what I'm saying? They're making huge moves, so like it's just great to see and great beer. But I'll show you soon. I will show you how I'll go about it. I'm not sure, but you will see. And rest in peace to my dad. I miss you. Rest in peace to Rebecca. Rebecca, I miss you. You know what I mean? We had a long time coming. It's sad to see that you're not here no more. And I just hope you're doing good up there. And Patrick Day, I hope you're doing good up there, man. It sucks that you're not here either. You had a very, very bright future. Your future was pretty much there. So, it sucks to see a lot of people in my life disappearing. I feel like I'm rushing, man. Jesus Christ. I gotta go to work in like 30 minutes, yo. Well, I gotta be there in 30 minutes, so I do gotta dip soon. But listen, rest in peace to all my fallen friends, all the people who were there in my life, who were a big part of my life. You're dearly missed. This business is about you. Rest in peace, Shaggy, another good friend that I lost this year, brought in 2024 in a terrible way. He was a good guy. He always supported me. He supported me in my bartending days, like when as I was starting with the company. He supported me. He always told me that I was a good dude. He always showed love, man. And you know, as I get older, I realize I lose a lot more people in my life. And while it sucks and I hate to think about it a lot, I'm gonna make sure that anything I do in this business will it will represent y'all. You know what I mean? And that's it, man. So listen, I hope if you stayed through this whole thing, I appreciate you. I appreciate the support. I do get a lot of support for growing this, and it's always appreciated. As far as what's to come, I'm pretty much putting my cars on the road next week. It is Thursday right now, so by Monday, Tuesday, I should be good. So you're going to see a lot of car stuff this weekend. I got some wrapping to do. I got parts laying around. I've been saying it, but you know, it's time to do it now. It's getting warmer out and all of that. So, thank you for staying. Check out the rest of my YouTube videos. I think this is like episode 9. Also, check out my other YouTube channel, InSpc3lnd. I'm gonna be sure to put that in the description. That's my days in Virginia where I was doing car stuff. You'll see when I had said that I was creating a vision, that YouTube revolves around that a lot. I never got a chance to really finish out the season, but we're continuing on with this because essentially the goal was still accomplished, and the goal in Mission was Mission creating Spaceland. So check that out. I'm gonna keep having content. Follow me on Instagram. You know, hit me up if you want to talk, do business, anything. You got a car you want to sell, contact me. I love Ford. I'll do anything. You know what I'm saying? I have no experience in diesel, and I cannot paint. Stay safe. I have to go to work. Peace.
Hard cause the bread important. I go hard cause the bread important. I go hard.